You step into a space made for many people at once. Wide entrances, high ceilings, long sight lines. The kind of place that feels empty only for a moment. It was built with the expectation that bodies will fill it. Voices will overlap, movement will multiply. The room does not belong to anyone individually. It belongs to the group before the group arrives. Seats face the same direction. Aisles guide flow. Even standing areas have been planned. Nothing here is accidental. The architecture already knows how people will behave together. When people enter, something shifts immediately. Energy rises without instruction. Small actions begin to copy each other, sitting, standing, turning, looking. No one announces what to do. The room teaches it. Distance disappears faster than expected. Strangers feel familiar when they are oriented the same way. You stop noticing individual faces. You start noticing waves. Applause moves like weather. Silence spreads the same way. You can feel belief before you hear it. It shows up as confidence in the air, as ease, as the sense that something is already decided. When many people are present, doubt feels heavy. Belonging feels light. The crowd does not need agreement to move together. It only needs attention to align. A sound, a gesture, a moment. Once enough people respond, the rest follow without thinking about why. The room rewards synchronization. When you act with the group, nothing resists you. When you hesitate, you feel it immediately. Not judgment, just friction. Standing still while others move feels awkward. Speaking when others are quiet feels wrong. Belief spreads quietly here, not through arguments, through proximity, through repetition, through the comfort of knowing you are not alone in what you are feeling. The crowd makes decisions feel smaller. You don't carry them by yourself. Responsibility dissolves into numbers. If many people are doing this, it must be acceptable. If many people believe this, it must be reasonable. Time changes in the crowd. Moments stretch. Reactions accelerate. You stop tracking your own thoughts. You track the room, what it expects, what it welcomes, what it is ready for next. Nothing in this space forces belief. That's the important part. The room does not convince you, it surrounds you. It shows you how easy it is to move together, how natural it feels to agree without discussion. Before anyone explains what to believe, belief has already begun to spread. It moves person to person, seat to seat, breath to breath. In a crowd, belief doesn't need proof. It only needs momentum. This is where Carl Jung would look away from the size of the crowd and toward what disappears inside it. Not what people express, but what they no longer have to carry alone. In a crowd, the self softens, decisions feel lighter, feelings lose their edges. Jung would notice how quickly uncertainty retreats when many people share the same space and direction. Doubt does not vanish, it dissolves into the group. The shadow here is not aggression or fear, it is responsibility, the weight of thinking for yourself, the pressure of standing alone with a belief. In the crowd, that weight spreads out. No one has to hold it fully. Jung believed the shadow grows wherever parts of the self are avoided. In this room, what is avoided is isolation, being wrong alone, being unsure alone. The crowd offers shelter from that exposure. People mirror each other unconsciously, posture aligns, reactions synchronize. Jung would see this as the psyche seeking safety through similarity. When others feel what you feel, your feelings seem valid. When others react as you react, hesitation feels unnecessary. The crowd also absorbs contradiction. Conflicting thoughts do not need resolution here. They fade into the background noise of shared presence. You do not have to reconcile them, you only have to stay with the group. Because this is shared, the shadow becomes shared too. No single person owns the doubt, the fear, or the confusion. It floats between people. That diffusion feels relieving. It also delays confrontation. Jung would not judge this. He understood the comfort of belonging. The psyche is not built to stand exposed all the time. The crowd offers rest, a pause from self-examination. But he would notice the cost. When the self steps back too far, it becomes harder to retrieve. Individual instincts quiet down. Inner signals lose urgency. The group's rhythm replaces the inner one. The shadow waits patiently in that space. It does not disappear. It adapts. It learns to hide inside consensus, inside applause, inside silence shared by many. When the crowd disperses, something often returns, a faint unease, a sense that something personal was left unresolved. Jung would recognize that feeling, not as failure, but as reminder. The crowd gives relief by holding what individuals avoid. For a while, that works. And for many people, that relief is enough to keep returning. Not because the shadow is gone, but because together it feels quieter. This is where Friedrich Nietzsche would begin to listen for goodness forming between people. Not goodness as care, but goodness as agreement. In a crowd, morality does not argue, it aligns. You can feel it when it happens. Certain reactions feel right, others feel out of place. Applause arrives together, silence settles together. The crowd teaches what belongs without speaking. Nietzsche would notice how quickly values become visible here, what is praised, what is ignored, what earns approval through repetition. Morality shows up as atmosphere. It feels natural because everyone participates in it at the same time. The crowd does not need rules, it has momentum. When many people respond in the same way, that response becomes correct. When fewer people hesitate, hesitation begins to feel wrong. Not immoral, just awkward. Goodness in the crowd is easy. It does not require reflection. You follow what feels shared. You match the tone. You stay in rhythm. Nietzsche would see how morality becomes a matter of timing rather than truth. Strong opinions travel well here. Clear reactions move faster than uncertain ones. The crowd prefers confidence because it reduces friction. Doubt slows things down. Nuance interrupts the flow. Nietzsche warned about moral systems that reward sameness, not by punishment, but by comfort. In the crowd, being aligned feels good. Being different feels heavy. That difference does not need to be attacked. It only needs to stand alone. In a crowd, right and wrong stop feeling personal. You don't decide them alone. You sense them. When you move the same way as others, your body relaxes. When you don't, something tightens. No one points it out. You just feel it. That feeling quietly becomes your guide. Mistakes feel smaller here. If something goes wrong, it doesn't belong to one person. It belongs to the moment, to the group. Responsibility spreads so thin it almost disappears. Acting together feels lighter than stopping to think alone. Nietzsche would notice how fast certainty grows in this space. When many people react the same way at the same time, doubt doesn't stand a chance. The shared feeling feels like truth. The size of the response feels like proof. What makes this powerful is how gentle it is. The crowd doesn't accuse, it doesn't reject, it simply opens its arms. When you join in, you are rewarded with warmth, with ease, with belonging. Morality becomes a position you stand in, not a belief you defend. Nietzsche wouldn't deny how strong this is. He would wonder what gets lost. When fitting in feels good, standing apart feels risky. When agreement feels safe, thinking alone starts to feel unnecessary. In a crowd, morality doesn't ask you to believe anything. It surrounds you, it holds you in place. And once you've felt how steady that feels, stepping away doesn't feel like freedom. It feels like losing the ground beneath your feet. This is where Niccolò Machiavelli would stop watching belief and start watching leverage. Not what the crowd feels, but what the crowd enables. Power here does not need to speak, it only needs numbers. A crowd creates force simply by existing together. Once people are gathered, influence becomes easier to apply. Messages travel faster, reactions amplify, decisions feel urgent. Machiavelli understood that power grows where coordination reduces resistance. In a crowd, authority doesn't have to convince each person. It only has to move the group slightly. A cue, a pause, a signal. Once enough people respond, momentum takes over. The rest follow not because they agree, but because stopping feels costly. Machiavelli would notice how quickly responsibility thins out. No single person feels in charge of what happens next. Action feels shared. If something escalates, it wasn't you, it was everyone. That diffusion protects power from blame. The crowd also creates visibility. When many people look in the same direction, whatever they are looking at gains weight. Power does not need to prove importance. Attention grants it automatically. What is seen by many feels legitimate. He would watch how easily direction is embedded into structure. Where people stand, where they face, how sound moves, how light guides eyes. These choices are not neutral. They shape outcomes without ever announcing intent. Power works best when it feels natural. In a crowd, guidance looks like flow, decisions feel collective, obedience feels like participation. Machiavelli would recognize this as efficiency, control without confrontation. The crowd also protects power through loyalty. Being part of something large feels meaningful. Leaving feels risky. Stepping aside means losing visibility, safety, relevance. Power does not need force when belonging does the work. Machiavelli would not see the crowd as irrational. He would see it as useful, predictable, scalable. Once a pattern is set, it can be repeated. Once belief spreads, it can be directed. Nothing here requires deception. Power does not lie, it organizes. It arranges people so outcomes appear inevitable. When many people move together, the result feels chosen, even when the direction was shaped quietly. When the crowd disperses, power does not disappear. The memory of alignment remains. The next gathering forms faster. Trust returns quicker. Machiavelli would see that as success. Power in the crowd is not loud, it does not threaten, it waits for numbers. And once belief spreads widely enough, power no longer needs to act. The crowd acts for it. This is where Napoleon Hill would notice how belief locks in when it feels shared, not taught, not proven, simply confirmed by numbers. Hill believed belief grows when people feel momentum. In a crowd, momentum is visible everywhere. Belief spreads fastest when it looks successful. A full room, a loud response, a wave of agreement. The crowd becomes evidence. If so many people are here, something must be working. That assumption forms before anyone explains why. Hill would see how participation turns into investment. You show up, you stay, you respond with others. Those actions matter. Once effort is given, belief wants to justify it. If you committed time and attention, the belief must be worth holding. The crowd supplies constant reinforcement. Reactions ripple, confidence multiplies. Doubt feels unnecessary when surrounded by certainty. Hill understood that belief strengthens when it feels supported by motion, not logic. What makes this powerful is how belief feels chosen. No one forces agreement. You join, you clap, you move with the group. That sense of agency protects belief from questioning. You didn't inherit it, you stepped into it. Belief here does not meet a future promise. It delivers a feeling now. Belonging, energy, relief from standing alone. Hill knew that immediate emotional return is more convincing than distant outcomes. When belief feels good in the moment, it doesn't ask for proof. Failure dissolves easily in a crowd. If nothing changes afterward, the answer is simple. The crowd wasn't big enough. The moment wasn't right. Try again. Believe again. Belief is never disproven. It is renewed. The crowd also carries belief forward. You remember how it felt to be part of something large. That memory becomes a reference point. The next time belief appears, it feels familiar. Trust arrives faster. Hill would recognize how scalable this is. One person believes because many believed it once. Then that person helps belief spread to the next group. Momentum becomes the message. Nothing about this feels dishonest. The energy is real, the unity is real, the emotion is real. That reality shields belief from inspection. When something feels powerful together, asking why feels unnecessary. When the crowd disperses, belief remains, not as a thought, but as confidence. The sense that standing with many is safer than standing alone. Hill would see this as belief perfected by scale, not argued, not examined, simply repeated each time the crowd gathers again.